So we just finished up the first installment of Heavy Metal Anthropology, and it's kind of the beginning of a series of things that you want to do here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you tell us a little bit more about where the idea for the project came from and what it will mean to you sort of moving forward?
So I've been a kind of a lifelong stalwart fan of all things heavy, and obviously the fact that I play in a band that kind of flirts with some of these genres we're talking about tonight, and my background in anthropology, it just kind of all fit together. And I've been inspired by other anthropologists like Sam Dunn, who did a great job kind of synthesizing the genre and its multitude of aspects that really all together hold it up and sustain it for posterity. Actually, this kind of lent itself through a project in grad school, like it was a linguistics class, talking about musical syntax, coding, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like, okay, of all the things I'm interested in musically, what bears that type of investigation, that nuanced, I couldn't think of anything more deserving than that kind of an exploration than heavy metal. And so for me personally, one of the most recent things I've been kind of surprised with and just really excited about, again, is this kind of stoner doom, kind of explosion that's going on amongst a lot of younger bands in the U.S. And just seeing that kind of prolific rise and distribution of all these different voices. It really establishes this healthy underground movement that I haven't really seen the likes of any music I've been a part of in almost 30 years of being a musician in Oklahoma.
Metal, I mean, with all the genres and the different factions, and obviously there's like some kind of fun faction fighting that happens, but there's also, there could be some kind of negative aspects to that too. But I think that for all of the bluster and the masculinity that's in there, I think that there's definitely like some kind of code of honor or ethics or, I don't know, intersectionality that is strongly linked to the kinds of things that we're interested in.
There's definitely some areas of any musical enterprise that are going to be a little less progressive than others as far as social cultural norms and accepted just etiquette and ethos. And I don't see a lot of that because I choose not to surround myself with those kind of things. And so I may be ignorant of that presence, but I think I think there's definitely an ultimate overall progression towards things like inclusivity and just that will ultimately benefit heavy metal as a whole.
Definitely.
Any music.
So I've seen your band Rainbows a couple of times. Rainbows Are Free. I've seen Dutch Coven a couple of times.
Okay.
I really enjoy all aspects of those things, but I have to ask about, because I'm kind of a gearhead.
Yeah.
Do you play? I've seen you with the Brendan Small Thunder Horse V.
The Snow Falcon.
The Snow Falcon. Damn it.
Thunder Horse was the Explorer, but yeah, no, it's all Brendan Small. Yeah. That's actually that to me was purely shape.
Right.
I like that uninhibited neck attack, especially if you're doing leads or anything like that. There's only a few models that are conducive to that. I happen to be a Gibson fanatic, so the SG for example, is a little more conducive to doing some screeching and wailing than say a Les Paul, which does have a good cutaway, but it's only single unless you get the double cutaway. But so the Flying V is it's just iconic, and it really it's utilitarian as well. It's got both that appeal to form and functionality. It's great.
Now, did you start with like the $200 Ibanez and a crate amp, or like what was what was your kind of journey?
My first electric guitar was a Fender Bullet Squire, not too dissimilar to the one that Mike Hosty, who's a local Oklahoma legend. He plays a Bullet Squire, I believe. That was my first electric guitar, and I had a Floyd Rose on it, which was I didn't make very good use of that, but I gravitated from Fender, and my first tube gear was a Trainer, Prior to that, I'd been playing on solid state amps that were, like you said, creating TV and everything. But when I really finally had the wherewithal and the resources to get the guitar and the gear I wanted, I got a Gibson SG, and I got an electric amp, which is a whole nother story in itself. It's a boutique company called Electric Amp USA, and I think they're out of Washington. They're hard to get anymore. It's made on a bench, military point to point. It takes about a year to order and receive.
Wow.
In my experience, at least, and that was back in 2008. And so that was my first real pro gear that had this tone that is just unmistakable as far as this Mondo volume. That's what they kind of bill it as. And then from then I dabbled in orange and anything that kind of harkens back to this old heavy 70s kind of tube sound, the warmth of the tube, the volume attack. I mean, I tend to employ that in any musical endeavor I'm involved in, be it Rainbows Are Free or Green Gospels, or like you said, doing some heavy metal covers in Dutch Coven. That just seems to be that's the sound I'm stuck with.
It just feels right.
Feels right, yeah. It hasn't let me down so far. So.
Right on. So what have you been working on lately? I know that there's a couple of irons in the fire.
Well, we just got we signed to a record label in Italy this year called Argonaut Records, and back in July, and we're having an album release on November 29th. This will be our fourth album, our third studio album. It's our last one was 4 or 5 years ago, so it's really exciting to kind of have a new offering out, and especially with this new label support and actually a PR mechanism in place. Learned a lot about the underground industry, kind of in the dubious quest of seeking a new label support.
And did you say also that you're writing a book?
Yeah, so I published a science fiction novel, dystopian sci-fi yarn last October, so it's been out for about a year now.
What's it called?
It's called The Kinship, and it is a part one of a 3-part trilogy. And in the meantime, I've got a kind of a palate cleanser novel that should be coming out any month now. It takes place, the backdrop was Satanic Panic in the early 90s. It's another kind of horror sci-fi, but yeah, I've got this novel bug in me over, it's a kind of a new thing. I'm consigning into a couple different stores. I got them into Cafe Press and Literati Press up in Oakland City, Potato Plunge. It's my first kind of legit bookstore that I'm excited about. I've got them at the guest rooms here in Oakland City, Norman, and a couple other spots. If I've learned anything about the creative process, be it writing, any kind of artistic, expression, music, whatever, it's that, and this is not an original thought. This actually got this from Stephen King in his book on writing. Basically, I know a lot of creative people that have this issue of starting and finishing completion. And there's this idea that you have to kind of wait for inspiration, you have to wait for the muse to find you. But I believe it's more about discipline. And if you're writing a novel and you make a point to sit down from say 1 to 5 o'clock each day, the muse will find you.
Yeah.
Eventually. And I think that's the way to finish something. And once you do finish something, even if it's small, then you start to become empowered by I can do this. This is tangible.
Well, thanks very much for sitting down with me.
Thank you. Great.
Really appreciate it. Record release show, November 29th.
Blue
if you're
Note in
around.
the city. Yeah.
There you go.